Okay, cool. Thank you for
Hey,
permission.
we are live. It is the floating comic book chat. This time under the sidewalk, far beneath the sidewalk,
Right.
which I will explain later, or perhaps people know that reference. So we've got the fabulous Rasa, who's back from the dead, practically.
Excuse me?
After her visit to the hospital where they gave her some sickness.
Right.
That's the reason for hospitals, to make you sick.
Yeah.
And still alive, as far as I know, is Terence.
Yeah.
Ooh, is that a beer or something else?
It sure is. No, it's a beer today.
Oh, nice.
A new one that I haven't tried before. A gluten-free beer. So I thought I'd give it a shot.
I am drinking coffee because I just woke up an hour ago.
I also have this for later.
Ooh.
Jesus. Somebody's.
What is that?
Chartreuse.
Is chartreuse a kind of?
It's a liqueur. Yeah, you have it on ice. It's Monk's from 1605. It's a very secret recipe. It's my Christmas tradition. Every December, I get myself a bottle of chartreuse while we're setting up the tree and that sort of thing. So,
well, if we show off, let me show you my ham.
Oh, I want some ham.
I smoked this little.
You smoked it?
Yeah, I did it my own thing. I just bought some red meat and smoke. It's a beautiful thing when you can do it yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Delish.
It is snowing here, which almost never happens in Portland, and we have a prediction of freezing rain, so I'm very excited. And we have For the Love of Comics, we have Andrew Lopez.
Hello.
Earl Grey hanging out. And I think that's it. Earl Grey thinks you're a ham.
What ham? Yeah. If I would be a stereotypical Russian, I would have a leek or a green onion, shot of vodka, that ham, and I would do that with everything together. Yeah. This is how you do Russian way, by the way.
And we have Rick Ray.
Hello, Rick Ray.
Does Rick Ray have a YouTube channel?
Hey, Rick Ray, do you have channel?
I don't think so.
Okay. Because he seems to have very cool taste in comics. So if I missed his channel, I'd be upset. And I think some of these people are going to fall asleep to the dulcet tones of our voices.
Yes.
I know
we'll do some ASMR for you.
It's nearly 2 a.m. for Angshuman and quite late for Earl.
Andrew Lopez is not honey ham. It's just some spices, salt, pepper. Lay in the fridge for a couple of actually a week, just to marinate that in spices, and then I smoked it in hot smoke.
It would be great if you started one, Rick. You can be part of the community within the larger YouTube community that are the cool guys. Speaking of cool guys, we got Celia.
Hello, Celia.
Yes, we're better than audiobooks to fall asleep to. We've got Sean Font Thomas.
Hello.
Which I think there is a font called Font Thomas, but
is it?
So it's a very subtle screen name, I think.
Right.
Andrew thinks your ham sounds good. So this is the ham episode. I should have put that in the title.
No, I was craving Lithuanian smoked ham stuff.
So this is a specific Lithuanian recipe?
Kind of, yeah. I did follow a Lithuanian dude doing that. I kind of find some recipe somewhere on the web, wild web. So, but I've never tried it. I've been doing some smoking lately, but it's because it's not a very popular thing in United Kingdom where I am at the moment, or at least where I am. Okay, let's say it this way.
You're part of the kingdom.
Yeah, my part of the Shire. I live in the Shire, by the way. Anyway, so, yeah, so
suddenly
my Shire.
I picture you have big hairy feet that don't fit in shoes when you say Shire.
Yeah, they do their own, but it's just I need that taste of my country, and especially this time of year, it becomes like a craving. Yeah. My next on the list will be smoked turkey. Which I'm going to be the first attempt to do. It's kind of a big thing to do. It's quite expensive as well. Not as expensive as America, I heard. So we got a crown of turkey, not fresh, also purposely, because I don't want to mess around with something really expensive. But I will try. I'll give a good try of doing that. So.
we're gonna do Cornish game hens this year for Christmas, so everybody gets a little chicken for themselves. We're gonna try that out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds very fancy.
Yeah. There's some Hutterite colonies near us and stuff, and you can usually go. I mean, we've got to go. Like, we're going tomorrow to try to secure these, and these chickens, right? Because you gotta kind of get them.
What's a
early.
Hutterite colony?
Hutterite, so like a religious group of people. So
like the
Hutterites,
Amish or something.
I believe they're like of German descent. Yeah, I believe so. Don't quote me on any of this though. But
so do they live a different lifestyle than modern life?
A little bit, yeah. Not as extreme as like Amish and things like that, though. Not as kind of technology free and stuff. So
yeah.
Yeah,
well, sorry, we talk food now, but I infected them to do that, but I had to share.
Hilarious.
It's a hilarious thing.
Well, in the chat for the Love of Comics live video, we were talking about chai versus chai.
Yeah, chai being tea. Yeah, which I didn't know. I was under the impression it was a type of a spiced tea, because that's what I always see when I see a chai tea.
So somebody who went to like Tibet or something in the 80s came back to the U.S. and made tea the way they do in Tibet, or the way it's commonly, with hot milk and a bunch of spices and tea.
Yeah.
And they started marketing it just as chai. But chai in large numbers of countries, especially in that area of the world, just means tea. Any kind of tea. So now everyone, at least in North America, thinks that chai is a special recipe of a tea latte.
Yeah.
So basically what they say, you go to coffee shops, like, can I have tea, please?
Yeah.
Right. We're all saying tea.
And then someone does this.
And it would be confusing for someone maybe coming from a country that doesn't do that to come here and ask for chai, and they get this big hot cup of milk.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, chai tea latte is what I get at Tim Hortons. A nice chai tea latte. Yeah.
Yeah, it spread like wildfire. At one point, it didn't exist, and then suddenly it was everywhere.
Right.
Anyhow, so we all can learn from each other.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get for the Love of Comics, DC Comics.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Maybe DC Comics needs a little more foam and froth.
Right.
We are heading in the right direction now. Talking comic now.
Yeah, so I have not watched any comics-related TV that I can think of. Rasa, you're usually our one on top of it. Have you?
Yeah, I watched Guardians of the Galaxy, a Christmas special.
Awesome.
Very cheesy.
To check that out.
If you're a very Christmassy person and you like superheroes, that's exactly what it is.
Right.
It's really good. I was telling to my husband while we were watching, it's a special. It's 44 minutes of it, and it just felt like they are really having too much money in Disney, because they employ every single one Guardians of the Galaxy characters that are there.
Wow, that is expensive.
And it's kind of, I said to my husband, wow, they do have money just to do the specials. But I bet
you their original contracts, they'll probably have something in writing about those kind of things. Like, it's probably, I doubt they're in a spot where they're doing kind of like a show by show contract. I bet you they have a bigger contract that encompasses, all that kind of shit.
Right, so they can't back out of doing these extra little things.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and then the bacon was special. Well, there you go, ham again.
Hey, Chris.
So
you haven't missed anything yet, Chris.
The spoiler alert, it's Kevin Bacon special as well in the same time.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
So it was great. I mean, I enjoyed it. It's a really lighthearted, Christmassy, flicky stuff. They have music. They try to save Christmas, blah, blah, blah. And also after that, I was looking at Twitter and I saw Terence's picture where he's doing Lampoon Christmas with family getting this Christmas tree. So that was very festive.
Yeah.
So it's very good. Yeah.
Would it be a show I could watch with members of the family who aren't familiar with Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah, easily. There's some, like they are having like this kind of like conversations, awkward acting, because we have that big dude who is Drax. I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah, is it Drax? Is that his name?
Drax.
Anyway,
Drax. Yeah.
Nothing against. Yeah, Batista, and nothing against the guy. I'm not a specialist on the acting skills, but he looks awkward. he looked awkward most of the time. I mean, the character is awkward as well, don't get me wrong, because of the, like he just says some awkward shit, but it just feels awkward, the chemistry between Manta and him, which were main basically characters there, and that's in that special, they felt a little bit awkward, but just my feeling anyway. So, but great, I still, as I say, still enjoyed it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
We all should have stretched our hamstrings before the show.
Oh yeah, maybe. Wait, crack.
That's me.
We should start each show with some yoga poses to stretch out.
Yeah, maybe we have to pay. People have to pay for that. Unfortunately, it's a paid promotion.
The Patreon level will get the stretches.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the only thing. I mean, I'm still Andoring, watching one episode at a time and digesting it slowly. I'm at episode 5, which is great. It's moving along. It's still quite slow, but quite slow for me.
Right.
But I enjoy. I mean, the series in general is quite intriguing. I just want the characters to bloom a bit quicker, but it's up to it's me.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen. It's about slow. It's about that pacing. Like I've finished it now, and I love it. Like I absolutely loved it, and the pacing is a big part of it because that's a big part of the messaging of it, which we can talk about once you finish the whole thing. But yeah, I really dug it.
Yeah. No, as I say, it's how many episodes do I'm
12. There's 12 total.
Oh wow.
And then they're going to do a second season of 12, and at the end of that's going to lead, like Rogue One did for New Hope. The end of season 12 the end of episode 12 of season 2 will lead right into New Hope, is what I had heard the plan was, to kind of make this kind of seamless transition like they did at the end of Rogue One for New Hope. You got that intro from that movie, happening at the end of Rogue One, which was pretty amazing.
Okay, cool. No, that's good. But as I say, I'm taking my time to do that. I'm more into my Star Trek stuff. I like Trekkie through and through, I guess. I'm the Prodigy. I'm going through those animated series as well.
Awesome.
My husband is like, yeah, it's an animated series. I was like, I'm a child in my heart. I will watch it anyway. And I'm a Trekkie fan, so I love it. Especially the characters in there. And talking about Star Trek, I will mention it as well. Oh, where is that thing I wanted to mention? Anyway, doesn't matter. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, cool.
Who knew what a punster for the love of comics was?
Yeah.
And Sean has his own or their own subtle humor.
Mm-hmm.
And good one. So who read the most comics? I did not read a lot. I thought we'd start with whoever has a lot to talk about.
I didn't read a ton, but yeah.
So Rasa, you want to go first?
Is it me? Okay, so I mentioned that on Twitter. You do, so you don't talk to me, I guess. They neglect me.
Less.
By the way, people, if you want to talk to those two, with me, they don't talk to you when you want them to. I guess the time since space is different,
time
like the
and
timing.
Space, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, so I found, because I'm reorganizing my chaos in here. As you can see, my background is a bit changed.
Oh yeah.
So I'm trying to basically organize some stuff in comic books in the right order, and I see this, which Terence has sent it to me, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But not issue 1. He always does that to me. But issue 2 or issue 1, then no, issue 2.
Yeah.
He's teasing me. So this is Vortex Comics. Okay. So you've been talking about that, and I was like, look. But then that
Peter Milligan. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. Early stuff.
This is a laugh. So basically, what to my surprise was this. There's 2 issues of it. Yes, Terence, am I correct?
I believe so. Yeah, I'd have to pull them out of the drawer, but yeah, I think so.
What I was surprised, because I was looking at it. I was like, okay, let's see what eBay has to say about how much is it. This is the first issue, and somebody asking £30 for 2 of them, which is
that's mental. Those are like dollar bin books. When I find them, they're in cheap bins. Now that said, I don't find them a lot. They're not out there in like vast droves or anything. But when I have found them, they're like $1, $2 books.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, everywhere on eBay is or £10 per issue.
Wow.
Or 30 for 2. So
Jesus.
I was very surprised. That's why I wanted to talk to you about. I mentioned that on Twitter, but you don't reply anyway. I digress.
I had other things on my mind this week.
Yeah, we get it. Now we know. Now we know, okay?
Yeah.
But before. Anyway, so this is really good laugh. So we following this guy called Al Cooper. And it didn't feel like I missed out on issue 1. It gave you an origin of here straight away. I don't know how the issue 1 started it, because in here it tells you how he got these powers. And it's absolutely fantastic, bombastic coloring. It's from the 80s, 90s, isn't it? 87. So yeah, around that time.
Pretty radical coloring for 87.
Yeah, but it's beautiful. I absolutely loved it. I only didn't understand some like really big gaps on other things, like why would you not use the whole page? But I don't know, it's maybe just design things or everything. So we follow this crazy guy Al Cooper, who finds this book, where in that book he finds a power to be a parallax, and we basically having this like him having like nice conversation with his girlfriend while in the bed. He really reminds me of David Bowie in some shots. I don't know if they were going for that, but in that era, I wouldn't be surprised because of the outfit he's wearing as well. The yellow banana is, I think, what he's calling himself on that one, but it looks great. I mean, yellow and blue is just the winning colors anyway. So for me, I kind of enjoyed with the spandex of superheroes and stuff. So it's really easygoing, really funny. It has quite a nice puns around it. There's also I see where the yummy fur is coming about now everywhere because of Vortex Comics. So yeah, it's really extremely, honestly, entertaining to what it is. It doesn't take it too seriously of itself because of the character, but you have like those what is his name? Andy Warhol. Oh my God! Somebody would say to me that I don't know who I'm talking about.
Oh right, yeah.
Andy Warhol show and stuff.
Do they call him Andy Warhol, or he just looks like Andy?
They do. They do. It says Andy Warhol. Can you see? I don't know if it's gonna.
Yeah, it looks just like Andy Warhol.
Yeah, that's him. So anyway, so he has this interview just to make it, because he's this new superhero coming out of nowhere, and then he can go through solid objects, I guess. One of the things he can do, or he's just finding out. And he goes into his neighbor's house through the wall, and she's like, "Do you mind? I'm busy working." So she's dominatrix or something like that. So it's funny. It's really hilarious. And the best part is this Pin Man. He has this. So he's this villain, of course. He wants to dominate everything in the world. He has
a count of nuclear missiles as hands, or missiles as hands.
Yeah, he says, "I am V.2 Pinhead has come to crack some skulls." And he is basically has 76 people on his list of death, and he just wants to take over. And he wanted to go after peace treaty like talks, and of course they have to. Basically, our main character has to go after him because he's a superhero now. Also, Howard Shakin Black Kiss is advertising this one. So yeah, it's really good, and there's lots of nice puns in here. How we talk to each other. Despite soft-boiled, stool-faced liberal. So, it's kind of like, this lesson be peace lovers everywhere. So he's just like, trying to do his coolness, and he finds a solution how to defeat him as well. It's absolutely fantastic little thing. I honestly have not, like I always, Terence has said, always tries to open my world to what I like to read it. And he wants to basically get you into this weird stuff, like this is weird.
He's a pusher.
Not your atypical good stuff. This is just weird.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So, but it's absolutely fantastic. Honestly, Milligan is always a surprise. There you go. Now issue number 1.
So there's issue 1. So I thought I pulled it out because I wanted to look inside to see. Yeah. I was mistaken. I thought this was something that originated in like a UK publication, but I'm not seeing that in here. So maybe this is something they did specific to this. There was a Strange Days as well too, and I'm struggling to remember who that was with. That might have been an Eclipse title. I thought it was Vortex as well, but there was Strange Days with the same creators. I mean, I'm a huge.
I would guess Eclipse for Strange Days.
I like both of the creators. I love Brendan McCarthy's art. Brendan McCarthy's art. He's a phenomenal artist. Like he's just wild, right?
So how many issues of this were there? Do you know?
Just the two, and then there was the Strange Days, which I think was also 2 issues, possibly.
And was Strange Days set in the same world? I know it's the same team.
Yeah, it's the same characters, same kind of world. I think there might be some. It's been forever and a day since I read this stuff, so I'd have to pull them out and look again. But it's beautiful stuff.
Yeah, Sean and Ray
Eclipse.
confirmed.
Yeah, there you
Eclipse.
go. Yeah.
So I'm definitely not paying, but anybody wants to find me for $1, I'll send you.
Yeah, I'll keep my eyes out there, Rasa. I'll keep a lookout when I'm out. There's a mini convention coming up soon that I'm hoping to be able to get to, so I'll keep my eyes out.
Yeah, well, there's nothing to it's just it's really fun. It's just a surprise. You pick up something you don't expect, and the beauty about reading this kind of stuff as well. Don't put expectations to somewhere you don't see it coming, and that's the best way to read it. Because when I didn't have nothing, and I just had giggles all the time. I was just laughing throughout. And that's exactly what I want. Something from that. And art-wise, it's fantastic. The panels are great.
I wonder if it's inspired people like Michael Allred. It's just not that the art's the same or anything, but the kind of vibe about a superhero who isn't really that much of a superhero.
Right.
And then, because the way he gets like, oh, what's this book? And he's like, why somebody hides some spandex inside the book? Like he takes out, and of course I'm gonna try it. What do you think? And he tries it on, and he falls down, and there's this TV out of his body. He's like, what is happening to me? Kind of thing. So it just doesn't take it seriously as well.
Yeah.
But it's fantastic little thing to have if you want to have a giggle. It's really, and especially if you can find it for like
for cheap.
Like really, at the end of the day. But Milligan is always a surprise to me because I was watching Damien's thing. The new Milligan stuff is kind of like he can go anywhere direction he feels like it. So you never know.
Yeah, that new Milligan is. I mean, you would never have pictured that old Milligan going where the new Milligan is, but there's still some interesting things going on. I discovered that I already had Tongue Lash. Remember Tongue and Lash? I already had those 2 issues. So I have an extra I can send to you, Rasa. Don't buy a copy.
I would definitely don't say no because I want to know that second issue. How is everything going on in my head? So
what I'm going to do is find a few. So I can send you a small packet. I'm going to find a few comics to send you.
If you want postage,
that'll be on the way.
I'll definitely. I know it's absurdly stupid amount.
I assume it's about the same amount, like to send 4 or 5 comics than just 1. So
probably. Yeah.
So I'm going to do something.
Just in here, it's very, very, very precise. Don't take much more, like 1 millimeter more, and then he's like, "I'll slap you now with money." It's like, what the hell?
I need to find out exactly the right amount.
At my post office, they've got this this plastic template rather, and it's got the letter slot, and so I always take it there, and if it fits through there, then I get the cheap one. So I've really got to keep it in that spot there. Aggressively relaxing. Hello.
Yeah. Hey, aggressively relaxing. And so some people are agreeing with me. Maybe there's a connection between the. And then, of course, Allred and Milligan have a famous collaboration on Ecstatic.
Are you guys talking about this? I'm organizing my shit. You talking about that?
I tend to forget Milligan did work at Marvel. That always He seems like just the Vertigo and weirder stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice boom of colors as well. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Good to see a comic swag. That could be either Jay or Mike comic swag. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so another great stuff from the.
Yeah, for a lot of people who aren't normally Marvel fans, Ecstatic can be their favorite Marvel.
It's absolutely bizarre. That's why it's those weirder characters who comes into Marvel and do their own things, and especially it helps that. You have Allred on art in here. It's absolutely he shines in this one, and it's my only way to see a giant size X-Men.
Yeah.
I'm joking, but it's the only way I kind of homage or reprint.
Right.
Like how many copies of reprint giant size X-Men do I have? I probably found like 2 already. So desperation.
Hey man, get it where you can.
So speaking of weird comics. Terence is up next. Yeah. Although maybe he'll undermine me and do just a Spider-Man comic.
Actually, that's exactly what I was going to do. Because why don't we dive into my Trad Moore reading this week?
Yes,
and
somebody's
try to
obsessed.
see that lineage there or whatever. I don't remember what the hell was first though. So I picked up a bunch of Tradmore stuff. I can't believe I own a Venom comic. But there you go. There you have it. It does have a James Stocco cover, which is great.
That looked familiar.
I picked up a couple of Ghost Rider issues too. All new Ghost Rider, sorry.
Wow.
So I think the all new Ghost Rider is the earliest stuff. And then I picked up this amazing Spider-Man.
Boy, Tradmore's style there is different.
Legacy.
I'm joking. I assume he didn't do the cover.
No, this is Bruce Timm. Yeah, Bruce Timm on the cover. They had at the shop, they had like 27 covers of this. It was fucking mental. So I saw the Bruce Timm. They were all the same price, so I got this one out of them.
There you go.
So I think, if I'm not mistaken, and then I also read, I've started into the New World again too. So I read the first 2 issues of this.
I've never read
I
this.
need to go back to that.
I've never read this. You guys need to tell me now.
Ghost Rider, I think, was the earlier stuff. This is 2014 Tradmore. And this was, out of all of this stuff, this was the least interesting to me. I really wanted to explore his art and kind of see his progression. So I figured I may as well pick up some things. I think this was only a 5-issue where he did the first 5 issues. I know that it went on after that, but it was only the first 5 that he did.
Looking at that, I would guess he's trying to be more like a normal Marvel artist.
Yeah.
Because he was already weirder than that on the Luther Strode books.
Was it? Okay, because that's what I was going to say. Because I don't know much Luther Strode. I didn't find any at the shop when I was there. Not a single issue of it. So this one, I mean, I don't know much about the character. I'm not that interested in the character, to be honest. And it's still like competent stuff. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just I want to see some more. I want to see a little bit more expressiveness from him. He does have an uncanny way with faces, though. All the extra lines around the eyes and creases on the face and things, and you can absolutely see him, and it really gives you a sense of his like manga-ish type of style.
Right.
He kind of comes from that world, and even with some of the storytelling, depending on who's writing it. So this one is Felipe Smith is writing this. Tradmore doing art. Val Staples on the colors, which we'll also talk about as well when we get to the later stuff. So, I mean, I'm glad I got it. It was cheap. I'm glad I picked it up to give it a shot, but I don't think I'm going to. If I see the other issues for like 50 cents, I'll get them. But
right. It does look very anime to me.
It totally does.
It's interesting to then see that side of him, which I didn't really notice.
Yeah,
by Doctor Strange.
No, absolutely right, and I think that's a big thing, right? Like he really started to kind of develop, but I do feel like he's the kind of guy that comes from that world and loves that. So Venom is from 2017, so a few years later, and you can see a little bit more progression. Again, like I don't care about the character. I read it. I didn't really understand what was going on. It didn't bother me to be honest. But, and again,
that looks more like Luther Strode to me.
Yeah. You see some signs of him, and he does do some wild stuff for sure. Stuff like this, I think, is pretty great. As he transforms into Venom, I thought was pretty amazing. There's
the
another
layouts
one
are getting a bit more freeform than that earlier.
They totally are. And there's another big splash here. Let's just see. Yeah, this one here. I love these pages. So it's great to see like how he's using the single spread to have him move through the space as he starts kind of getting taken over by the symbiote and then finally jumps in to fight. I thought that was really clever. I like that. And again, like the ground feels kind of everything is morphing around him. It's cool. There's some really nice looking stuff. But again, I want this kind of wildness for the whole comic to some degree, right? But I mean, he's playing within a different character, a different story. So
he unleashes himself for a few action scenes and then goes back to normal.
And then goes back. Yeah. So let's get the credits proper here. So this is Mike Costa doing the writing, Tradmore, and then color artist was Felipe Sobriero, I think is how you pronounce that. So again, a different colorist. But then when we start on, so this Amazing Spider-Man is 2020. This was my favorite of the bunch of those. Brave New World is the New World I've owned already, and I love that one. But out of these 3, this one was my favorite. This is, like I said, I think it said 2020 at the back. This one, I absolutely love this short story. I think Spider-Man is another character that works for him because he can kind of play with body language and shape and movement and things. Even Spider-Man interacting with these sound effects, that kind of idea of he's got this spider sense. So the idea of interacting with those sounds that he's kind of hearing or sensing, I thought was really clever. And then you get some kind of traditional Tradmore, like that's a style that we've seen many times, that sort of armor, from Silver Surfer to even into the Doctor Strange book. But there was another thing in this one that I thought was phenomenal. This page, it was incredible as he's kind of fighting. And I love this right here as Spider-Man is kind of moving in across the page
Oof.
to kind of land. It's just incredible looking stuff. So this was just an 8-page story, the rest of the book. So I bought this book for an 8-page story because I have no intention of reading the rest of it whatsoever. But this, honestly, you can find this online without all the speech bubbles, without all the words on Tradmore's page.
Oh, right. Yeah, I saw that there.
I would say check that out. You don't, unless you're like me and you just want to be a completist and have everything to see it, go for this. But honestly, you can see it online without all the speech bubbles. It's really energetic. The movement throughout is just incredible. I think Spider-Man, I would love to see him do some more with Spider-Man, to be honest.
Yeah, now
I think
that
that's
you
a
show
really
it,
fun character.
at first I thought, no, there's no way I want to see him do Spider-Man, but now I do.
Yeah. So that one was good. And then I dove into Brave New World. So the first thing to say about Brave New World, this first issue for $4.99, this is an absolutely huge issue, which is a fantastic deal.
Where does Brave New World fit in with those other comics?
Just the New World. Sorry, not Brave New World. I keep saying Brave New World. So this is a little bit before Spider-Man. So this is 2018 is when this one came out.
So right after the Venom.
Yeah, right after the Venom. And it feels like, and this is Heather Moore doing color. So this is his wife doing color in this one.
Right.
So you get kind of, he lays the groundwork for some of the environment. There's a lot of that's going on. There's been this war that's happened that's wiped out a bunch of people. And the United States has been divided into kind of 3 basic sections there, or 4 sections, sorry. But then it kind of introduces you really nicely to his style as well too. You get little tastes there, and especially her coloring. Her coloring just seems to work really well for him. And then just our intro before you kind of get balls out into kind of classic Tradmore, like things like this, panels like this, for example, is really just amazing. Like that is him. That really feels like him, and kind of getting to be a little unleashed. And then he does this nice thing too, which I kind of got a kick out of. So it's this kind of live TV streaming of these sort of cops that are going and getting these criminals, and then they ask the audience, should I let him live or should I let him die? So she's about to kind of, whatever's going to happen with her and this perp that she's caught or whatever. We kind of get introduced. There's something else going on, and then the intro page for the New World is just this with all the sound effects and stuff, which I thought was kind of fun for a comic. But let's find some good.
I remember when I was reading it, at first I thought it was like a 80s epic comic or something.
Right.
With the bright colors and the dystopia. But then the visuals just got wilder and wilder as it went along.
Yeah, and that's what it seems to kind of do. Like, I love this page a lot. And it's all of this extra stuff that he does, and especially his body movement and these huge kind of, it's not so much about detail, it's about like the shapes that make up the characters. But again, even here, like the lines in the hair and things and the lines in the face, like to me, that's him. Like this is closest, besides the Spider-Man, this is probably as close to what I think of when I think of Tradmore.
Right.
That type of style there. Let's see what else. I'll find a couple more and then we can move on there. But it's been really fun to kind of go through his career a little bit and just see the stuff that I would never have looked at before. So one of the things I wanted to point out about her coloring was in these pages here. So they're at kind of this rave our two kind of main characters meet each other at this rave. And I love what she does with the coloring. So you get these kind of lines on their faces. That's really I mean, it looks really sharp here on the camera as I'm looking, but when you're reading, it's a lot more subtle. The environment of that party with like the disco balls and the colored lights and things. I love the use of that integrating with the page itself. I think is really nice. Like down here, just gives you that energetic kind of feel. So, I mean, she seems like an amazing colorist. It's also, you can see it here really well as well, even like on her neck and things. I think this is a really nice use of it there. So you're getting that bar atmosphere on the page. Right. Yeah, cool. It's beautiful. So I'm really digging this one. I've got the whole run. I read it quite a long time ago, but I want to kind of give it a read again now that I know a little more about his art.
Who published it?
This is Image Comics. Yeah, Image.
Oh, okay.
And it's Alex Cott, who always does very kind of radical, extreme kind of stories.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really great. So it's and this, like I said, this first one is a beefy damn issue. Yeah, and I'll just show you the cover for the second one. So again, just I'm still kind of getting into it. The story, as usual for these kind of things, like it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It just kind of, for me, just serves the moving along the art. But I'm enjoying it so far. So yeah, and what I said already, right? Yeah, 2018 for this one. So that's my Tradmore dive this week.
Very cool. Well, and I wonder how he went from that to them deciding to let him do a Silver Surfer book. Was it Donny Cates who wanted him, or did editors at Marvel actually look at that and say, hey, this is good for the Silver Surfer?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a fantastic choice, but it's probably not the normal kind of thing that Marvel.
I imagine it's all about relationships and friendships, right? Like doing that other Marvel stuff, he must have befriended a couple of people there, and then Donny Cates maybe, having that extra kind of pull possibly to request an artist. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a not very expensive trade of that out there.
Yeah.
Sadly, it wasn't a big enough hit to for them to do an oversized hardback or something.
Right.
So, well, almost kind of fitting in with what you guys did. Let me do my overhead thing, I guess. I don't know. I'm having trouble with cameras today, but
his camera agenda.
So right. I'm back to my less good overhead camera because the better one suddenly decided it didn't want to work.
Oh no.
Oh.
I knew nothing about the Filth. Maybe you guys knew about it.
I know the title, but that's it.
I have a couple of issues, but they scrambled, so I didn't even attempt to read it because it's Grant Morrison on it. So
it's a 2002 Grant Morrison Vertigo book. And I think by 2002 he was like already one of their main superhero writers, right? I'm not sure, but it is so out there. Oh wait, someone says CB Cebulski knows these dudes. He fetched their coffee. So yeah, maybe it's hard to imagine CB Cebulski's the one behind the radical art choices, but who knows? Chaos and Comics has read the Filth. I can imagine Chris liking it. He says he didn't finish it though. So I've read the first 2 issues. It just popped up on the DC Infinity app. They're finally putting the Vertigo books on it.
Oh.
And they dumped all 13 issues on it.
Oh.
And the first issue blew me away, but I'm not sure if I'll love the rest of it as much. But it starts with kind of just mysterious stuff happening that you don't know what it is. But then we go to follow this guy in his regular life in maybe New York City or London or something.
It looks London because the Sun is the Sun newspaper.
Oh, okay. So it's London. Okay, that makes sense. And he's buying stuff at the convenience store, including porn, which he's trying to hide. But the clerk at the porn store keeps talking about his porn. We follow him going home. He picks his nose. He gets on the bus. He hears all these different voices on the bus. It doesn't mean anything to us. He comes home, pets his cat, makes his dinner, picks his nose some more, and and we get to see him jerk off.
Lovely.
Perfect.
And that's like, this is a DC comic. I mean, DC, even with their black label, wouldn't do stuff like this anymore.
Right.
It was a different time in 2002.
And he's using man-sized tissues as well. Don't forget.
Yeah, is that a thing in England? Man-sized tissues?
Yeah, there is this ginormous tissue box you can buy.
And they call
not
it
ginormous,
man-sized?
but yeah, they are like for men. For
so it's actually jerking off tissues.
I don't know. I used it a couple of times. Now I'm not gonna buy it.
Grant Morrison has just ruined man-sized tissues for you.
Right.
Then he continues to go through his day. People come up and talk to him about what do they call it? They want you slayed. The hand never lets go. Anyway, eventually he comes home. And there's this naked, balding woman with a comb over, just like his comb over, which I didn't understand, in his shower. And she gives him oral sex.
Lovely.
And maybe more stuff happens. It's hard to tell in this picture. But again, I'm just blown away. I'm reading this on the DC app.
Right.
And then he's like, oh, I always wondered why this costume was here for me in my closet. So he is apparently some kind of super spy who then had his identity changed when he retired to become this schlub who just goes to work, masturbates, goes to sleep, rinse, rush, and repeat. And he has to
gotta rinse.
And I'm totally confused. Then they have a double of him that they're putting there. It gets very confusing. It definitely feels like something I have to read twice to figure out all the things. And so he gets taken. This hand that he works for is also called the Filth, and they say they're below the sidewalks, and they take care of all the dirty, nasty things in the world, I guess.
Right.
Let's see. I want to say the Filth had shipping issues, but I could be wrong. Oh, that's quite possible with something with Grant Morrison. 19-year-old me thought this was hilarious. Yeah. It does. I mean, it has an almost, for DC comic, it's a bit of an underground kind of feel to things, relatively speaking. I mean, it's done with a very mainstream style. And everything is so sort of extreme and nasty. So this is a woman who works for the richest, most perverted person in the world, but she has no willpower. So just, Simon had my right eye taken out and replaced with a Panasonic lens. I'm proud to be Simon's bizarre human camera, but he can speak through that part in her throat. And then she briefly says, please help me. My name's Sharon Jones. I was taking the train home from work. And the other guy says, yeah, I've heard it all before. So anyway, we have no idea at the end of issue 1 what this is, but this guy is selling this thing to a madman. Wow. And then issue 2 gets slightly more sort of closer to like a super psychedelic James Bond type of story, but it's still really way over the top. And one of the things is the bad guy has stolen these nanobots that look like Teletubbies. I'm trying to find them. They look like, where's a good picture of them?
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there, down there at the bottom.
Yeah.
That's good enough.
They look like Teletubbies with eyeballs, but they're super microscopically small. They can go into your body and hug your cancer cells and convince the cancer cells to become something positive. But of course, the bad guy's gotten control of them and is using them instead to create these perverted sex parties for billionaires. And so the team is sent out. It's our hero who still doesn't really remember who he was before. If he really was someone else before, you wonder about that. And his team includes this, I guess, Russian monkey who is a of
course.
Oh, and meanwhile, I didn't mention they've had him put on this blue wig over his comb over. I guess that's supposed to make him look cool. But every man in this seems to have blue wigs, and maybe every woman is an African American woman with a wig on. It's just really weird, and I'm really enjoying it. But I'm really being reminded there was a time when, but I wasn't reading a lot of DC at this point, but DC was quite admirable in my view of playing with comics and doing some radical. A lot of it was Vertigo, but they let these same weird people work on their regular superhero comics too.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it'll continue to be good for all 13 issues, but that first issue in particular was just kind of a fun, insane comic.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's more radical like than what comes out from Image right now or anything like that. So it's like I feel kind of sad that maybe comics have been whitewashed a bit lately.
How long?
Maybe because it would be too offensive now, with all its dirty jokes and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
When did this come out, Damien?
2002. 2002.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's the time when I came to this country.
Oh wow, that long ago. Jeez.
That's 21 years of counting.
Good grief, man.
I'm not I'm being reminded a couple of times. It's like, oh yeah, you have to change your paper. Oh shit. Oh my god, that's this long?
Yeah. Not only is it about sexual repression, it's definitely about like the fascination with the grotesque. Like even with, I think the filth is shit.
Right.
I don't want to say it too loud here, but it's really getting down and dirty. So they talk about being under the sidewalk, and they're down in the sewers. They're the secret agents fighting in the sewers. Right. Or the super sewers.
Right.
Hey,
it'd be
Donald.
interesting to hear how that progresses, because that could go anywhere depending on how that group starts to feel about themselves as you learn more about them as the group, right? So,
and will it continue to be so surreal and purposefully disgusting, or will it devolve into more of a James Bond type of thing?
Right.
Donald, I wanted to mention, was gonna be on our next show, but we thought our next show was next week, so we will hopefully have Donald on as a special guest next week.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I do have a bunch of files of cool art that he sent me that we will be using.
Awesome.
The filth is the peak of the "what did I just read" sentiment.
Right.
And the one other thing is, actually, there's this, I haven't read this issue yet. There's this crazy secret agent comic coming out right now from Scout, which has, I'll go back to that, which has this amazing artwork that's kind of reminiscent of Jeff Darrow.
Crazy. Wow.
Well, I haven't read this. This is issue 3. Issues 1 and 2 were really crazy, playing with memory and the secret, and the agency is run by an orangutan. And I'm now wondering if I read the two side by side, if the filth had an influence on this. But this seems toned down compared to the filth, at least the first 2 issues of the film.
Yeah.
But this is a really cool comic.
Who's an artist?
Yeah, it looks wild.
He's an artist I never heard of before this book. His name is they make it hard to read. Filia Bratukin. I don't know if you can even see that way they've spelt it there. I think he's from somewhere in Europe, but I'm not sure which country. Yeah, and the crazy colors are by Jason Wordie, who is definitely an up-and-coming colorist in the indie comic world.
Yeah, very good, especially of that business, and there's new days to have a comic like that. It's really good.
Yeah. If you guys can find this, maybe it'll start hitting the dollar bins or something, or coming out on digital, on Hoopla for the people who get that.
Okay, cool. Is it my turn now?
Wait.
Yes.
Oh yeah, somebody says French. Shall I speak Lithuanian before everybody, so we get confused a little?
You want to do a Lithuanian section?
Special?
Yeah.
Šiandieną aš išėjau į knygyną. I forget how to speak Lithuanian. That's another one.
So
hello,
Vatican
Colin.
may be Russian.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and hi, Colin. Good to see you.
So first, before I attempt my next thing to talk about, not attempt, but but I'm gonna show the love of library once again. Library, peace and love. Sometimes say people. So there's a couple of things I show you which haven't even yet started. So this is a New York Logic Comics, an epic search for truth. I don't know what it is all about at all, because
this is my bestseller. That's surprising.
That's my new thing now. I just pick up and then go.
Right.
I don't spend much time.
Great approach to the library. Just try out things. Also,
I find out my libraries actually take a note of what people would like them to have it in on their bookshelves. You can request it, but they don't guarantee you they're gonna be there. But it's they still keeping up the new stuff coming out, like this I have not seen, so somebody has produced it. It's Bloomsbury production. This is anyway nothing new. I will tell you when I guess I read it, but I just wanted to show you some things. Also something The Mad with Joy, a graphic novel. This is production in where is it from? I thought this England. In England they produced this one, but now Fanfare Presents, published by Fanfare Presents in cooperation with Lakes International Comic Art Festival, Kendal, UK. So yeah, it's interesting. It has the art I'm actually becoming more and more fan of. It's beautiful. Some of them has like really short stories, but I have not given the time, and I don't want to rush, of course, because in the library. There's a couple of other things I have from library I'll show you afterwards, because I basically managed to read them. So my foray into a Manuel Thior's world, found another thing. He seems to be my library is in love with this creator.
Nice.
So there's another Fantagraphics book. And the Fantagraphics is in love with him as well, it seems to be.
Mm-hmm.
So Red Ultramarine. So this was interesting, because once again we go into something you don't recognize by himself, because he's starting into play with beautiful first page landscape.
Nice.
But his art style changes. I mean, you kind of sense it when you start getting into him. But this is a tale of a architect, apparently, with a sense of depression. It seems to be this. I tend to gravitate towards the books like that, even though I'm not really want to be in part of kind of like knowing it. So it's very bold red colors and kind of like really washy-wash blacks used for this. So it's very experimental. This is before his famous interview, the one even Terence obliged to try it out. So this is before. This was produced on.
It's almost like he's playing the red against the white.
Yes,
as a compositional kind of thing.
Why don't you tell me when you were published? Why are you being so mean? It's mean. It doesn't say, really, but I know for sure. I looked it up because I know that it was published before the interview. And you can see kind of it's definitely experimental, and people kind of like you like it or don't like it. So this story is about actually who depressed, but they telling the story via this bizarre way of Icarus, the tale of the gods, whatever. We tried to sun and father tried to fly into the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's the father's name? I keep blanking.
Daedalus.
There you go. That's why I'm blanking, because I can't pronounce it.
It's a hard one to pronounce.
So that's why
I never know whether to say Daedalus or Daedalus. Or
yeah. So that basically the story starts with Icarus and Daedalus. There you go. I'm attempting at least, where they basically the dad is explaining to Icarus about life, and he sees these two girls. And that's where at first you don't see it, the bizarre type, but they come into picture afterwards, because it jumps from this tale to a modern time. And it's actually fascinating. The art is it's more beautiful when I got into the story once again. I think the interview is still Manuel Fior's my favorite thing, because it's just the way it dwells, and I don't know, I just got into as this is like jumped to modern day time.
Is this did he put this out after the interview or before? Do you know?
Before. This is before.
Because Rick Ray was talking about how different the work looks. So
yeah, it really looks different.
He evolved after this into the
yeah. So I think he's been playing around with lots of stuff when it comes to his art, and I think his art portrays the story he's trying to tell. I presume that way, because sometimes that really helps to tell the story you want to put. So yeah, it's very interesting storytelling. It's about Faust as well. Another, I think, literally thing which I don't know how to describe properly. So it kind of went over my head, but I enjoyed this. I enjoyed the journey. You know, you breeze through the pages, but you need to step back, especially with some of the pages like these, where to make up the mind of the struggles, because the demon represents his depression, and Icarus represents what kind of like youth and experience kind of thing into feelings and all life, because Daedalus is trying to explain to him. And one of the best things for me in the story is actually when they take flight, because they keep murdering the birds in order to get so basically how they kill them. This is fantastic. Actually, so the birds are flying, suddenly you see the shoot and foot and the bird is down, and then basically cracks the skull and open, and they basically with fingers just opens the body and takes the feathers. So actually really kind of prominent when you see this art of reds, you know what I mean?
I'm glad it's done in a minimal art style when they draw that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not right in your face. And this is the of course the wings, and the famous words were saying, please son, don't fly into the sun, because we made these wings, and the wax is the main part of them being able to attach the feathers together. And then if you know, heat melts the wax of the thing. So anyway, it's fantastic little tale. It's not gonna blow your mind. It didn't blow my mind, but I like to delve into him, because it seems to be library is really into him, and I'm opening my mind to whatever possibility Manuel Fior can want to tell us. You know, so far I had quite a few of them now. I think 4 books I've read of his. So it seems to be I'm
a
the
sneak guest.
Yeah. Hello.
Is that an elf?
Yes.
It's an elf. Has crept into the room.
Came off down from the shelf to visit.
Yeah. Right.
Came alive. It's alive.
Well, now we know Lillian looks great in hats along with everything else.
Yeah, that's right. That looks great, Rasa. I really like that style quite a bit. It's really.
So I thought you would
it's very visually appealing. I imagine if you're expecting the interview, it might be a bit of a shock, but it looks like it on its own.
But as I say, this book does not want to tell me when it was published, which is kind of sad. It says he done it in Berlin, and Oslo, 2004 and 5. But that's the Fantagraphics actually translated it. Yeah,
that's a good point. I was going to say the same thing as Chaos and Comics there, Chris. I like it when an artist plays with style, and you can still recognize the style as Fior's art, but I like that ability to kind of try out, or the being brave enough to try out other things. I love that.
So he tried to kill himself, by the way. Another good tale.
Right.
But I don't want to spoil, because there's a point why he's making to get Icarus there to do the things with him. So he's kind of like play with that kind of to help the storyline to move forward. But yeah, it's fantastic. As I say, he has, when he was like, this is the panels when he talks about the architect, and he doesn't know what's happening. He's like lost. Right. He's looking for people, like the person he's been around him all the time, and he's like completely kind of like at a loss to see where he's gonna do or achieve something he wanted, because he wants perfection. Basically, the problem is that he's He wants to see perfection everywhere at his work, and when he don't do that, his mind scrambles and he doesn't know what's happening around himself. It's really good. As I say, I'm not really fully explaining words exactly because this is the emotional part of it. So it's kind of works with that and the mood when you want to read it as well. So
I need to look and see if my library has this. That looks very nice.
Yeah, have a look. But it seems to be libraries chain I'm going around in the Shire. They definitely love this manual or somebody who really suggested them to get this because I keep on finding new stuff of his.
Awesome.
And I'm gravitating towards it because I already recognize the name. So okay, I'm taking. So
yeah.
When you see a work you're already familiar with, it seems to be I just want to delve into his work more, and he's very surprising at all times. So whatever book I already have read from him, it's always something different. So he's completely out there doing experimental stuff. So.
Right, which is confirmed by Colin loading the canon. I guess he must have done quite a few books then to establish the fact that he changes it.
Yeah, but then Fantagraphics gets to reprint that in English, so we're lucky in that sense.
So I am not a poet. I'm just good at really bad dad jokes, and that one just happened to rhyme. I got a lot of practice doing bad dad jokes right now.
Right.
I got to get them in before they won't be appreciated anymore.
Yeah.
Yes. My library has so many graphic novels. I'm sure they have anything that Fantagraphics has put out. Sure. Does anyone know other books besides Interview and this one that he's done?
I won't tell you straight away because I read them because they go on.
List.
I'll quickly. You talk and I'll quickly find.
No.
out
I'm trying to remember the one you read before. I want to say like Sentinel, but I don't think that was it. But I can't remember what the one before the Interview was that you read.
Celeste is the before. There's one I have not yet, but apparently it's very well liked by people. Is 5,000 kilometers.
Oh right.
It's called 5,000 kilometers per second man. Translated in English, but afterwards Blackbird Days. So I read Celestia, and there's the Interview, that Ultramarine, and there's another one, but they don't show me here.
So there's about 6 of them, at least in English.
Yes,
that's a good chunk.
Yeah,
the Celestia was he went and all out. I think he was overcomplicating the story, where there was way too futuristic times with some it's just complicated. It went over my head, but he has a lot of work which hasn't been yet translated. If you just go into his library, you would be surprised how many there is, and we just slowly getting snippets of what he can do, I guess. So,
cool. Yeah, that looks really good. I like that a lot. Yeah, I like the Interview, so I'll be checking that one out for sure.
The Interview has just the most magical ways of using the blacks and the grays. It's just beautifully done.
Yeah,
and he had help by somebody else, and he acknowledged that in the pages and stuff. So yeah, go for it. Yeah, try it out him, because you never know what you're going to feel out of it. I think it seems to be every person, because if you see some people's reviews about this creator, it seems to be one is extremely praising him and another one is completely saying it's bullshit, like kind of from one to extreme to another one. But it's up to you. I think the timing of your reading his book is essential. I think I find that with Celeste, I wasn't into it. I couldn't get into it. I felt like, oof, it's too heavy for me for generally what he was trying to portray. It was interesting art-wise, graphically is beautifully to look at, but story-wise, just didn't click. I was just getting lost more and frustrated more. So I was like,
right.
Happens sometimes. You don't have to like everything what other people doing. Just that's how it goes.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay.
So, Terence, did your elf bring you a book, or do you have a book?
No, she left. She went back onto the shelf. But keeping with Fantagraphics and libraries, I read Like a Velvet Glove Cast in Iron in graphic novel form.
Was that a reread for you?
I've never read the entire thing because I never had all of the issues. So I think it was the first 10 issues of 8 Ball. I have a bunch of them, and I mean, obviously 8 Ball number 1 was the one where I first got introduced to it. I didn't like it. Is one of those rare occasions. So I think there's a couple of things going on with this. I think the first is I think that this story works really well in an issue by issue format. I think it works incredibly well. I don't think it works well in a reading it all at once. I feel also like it's a product of the time. This was kind of, early days of kind of getting into long form storytelling.
There was his very first, I believe.
Yeah. There's so many times in here where it feels like, are you just making this up panel by panel? Like, it really feels like that.
Right.
And it honestly got really frustrating. About halfway through, I had to stop, and then I put it down, and then I read one issue and I had to stop, and then I read another issue. And the last two issues, honestly, were a struggle for me to read because I just found myself getting frustrated with the storytelling where it felt like that idea of we're just going to put a bunch of weird shit in to just be weird. So I think honestly, like at the time, I think it was amazing to read because I do remember thinking very, very highly of those early issues when I was picking them up because it was so different from what I was reading. It was also speaking to me as like a guy who was into David Lynch and into these kind of more surreal storytellers, especially in movies, where it was like, holy shit, it's amazing to see that style of storytelling in a comic because you just associate comics as certain things, right? There's moments in here that are really, really great, but overall, man, it was just a real struggle to get through. So I think reading it those issue by issue is probably the way to go. I just don't think there's much there. It's nice to see. He's still an incredible artist at this stage. Like, so I have zero issues with the art. I think it's beautiful stuff. And it's nice to see him early days flexing those storytelling muscles and trying to put things together and that kind of way of writing. So it's I love it for that. But as a story, I mean, this would absolutely not be a place to kind of start someone who wants to get into Daniel Clowes. Yes, I hear you, Sean. That's fine that we don't agree. Well, you're wrong.
I think it's fascinating though, because I just listened to his interview with Van Sciver, and there was a section where he's talking about how he thought of all of these as disposable when he was doing 8-Ball. He did not think they would ever be collected or be remembered or anything like that. And so it makes for a different kind of approach. That you're not thinking the people will compare last issue to this issue. Not to mention read them all in one.
That's right. Read them all back to back.
Hallowed volume in a hardback that they got from the library.
Yeah, no, totally. And I can absolutely see that. That Noah Van Sciver interview, by the way, is fantastic. If anybody hasn't seen it,
I think you pointed us towards it, and that's why I watched it. It was very good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just showing you pages as I'm talking. There's no use showing me more. But so I'm glad that I got it. I'm glad I finally got a chance to read it all. I mean, I like, this is nothing against Clowes whatsoever. I still love him. I still think he's a phenomenal artist and a phenomenal creator. It's just I got just really frustrated reading that thing where it was just like, why the fuck am I reading this thing? So the rare occasion where you're first read it as on a book.
I first read it as a graphic novel and barely remember it. And then when I was reading issue 1 of 8-Ball last week, I thought, this is brilliant. But I only read that first issue's worth. And I think that memory of liking something when you read them in individual issues carries on. Like when we were talking with Colin and he hated Hawkeye. But I remember liking Hawkeye because all I really remember is the experience of like the first 6 issues where it was still really good.
And I mean, it makes sense, like him talking the way that he talks about it, as a disposable thing, as these being standalone little snippets of a story where it's filled with mystery. 100%. I would absolutely be behind that for sure. So that's why I would say that I do feel like the place for this story is in those individual issues and trying to think about it as this is just an issue. This is just a story. Here's another story in the next issue that takes place with some of the characters, doesn't link, doesn't connect. It's just its own thing, even though there is links, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's that type of thinking about it that I think would benefit, and especially at the time, like reading them at the time. Because again, when I read that first issue, when I picked it up off the shelf, man, it blew our minds. Like, we loved it. And that story was the highlight of, there was other highlights in it for sure, but we really responded to that story specifically in that early issue and that first issue.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of David Lynchian comics. I'm sure there are a number of them, but I can't.
David Lynch did in some issues of Cheval Noir, he did Angriest Dog in the World.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah,
those are like a one-page thing, so it's not the same effect as a Lynch, something that
I don't know,
is in
it's
the style
it's really Lynchian though. Like, it's pretty, that's it's the same, almost the same panel to panel with different things happening every month, so
I think there's an essential problem in people like Klaus and who's the other guy from Seattle?
Peter Bagg.
Peter Bagg and people like that becoming kind of canonized, not to insult loading the canon, but kind of like put in hardback books and reviewed in the New York Times and stuff, because they are in their essence part of the scrappy serialized comic world, and that's what kind of made them cool. And when you put them up on the mantelpiece, there's something wrong with that in a way. I mean, I guess eventually you have to evolve to that or your material disappears.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I don't agree with you whatsoever. Like, I do feel like they have that place because they're part of like the zeitgeist of the time, right? Like, especially a guy like Peter Bagg, he's talking about the world at that time in his comics, and his comics have that kind of longevity because of he was able to encapsulate this time and speak about it in a certain way. I hear what you're saying, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I totally hear you though. That it's like me raving about everything, and then everybody goes and buys and goes, "That was shit." Terence raved about everything. You know what I mean? Like, it's that type of thing, right? So, hello, Paulo Costa.
Well, I get very upset when these people start appearing in the New Yorker and other things that that
it offends your delicate sensibilities.
My delicate sensibilities. Other things that my parents thought were respectable. I want to keep comics in the gutter where they belong, I guess.
Hey man, like I said, I back up Alan Moore as well with that type of thinking of like, this is supposed to be for the working class. These are supposed to be where they are. That's where their power is,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. There's this weird dichotomy with these sort of underground things that move from the underground to the upper class. They skip the working class and
right.
They go from the trash class to and it's just kind of weird for me anyway.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Particularly because that upper class of the the world of opera and the New Yorker and proper cocktail parties where authors go, yes, I really appreciated that last issue.
Voice of the people we're reading
is the world that my parents wanted and that I wanted to escape.
Right. Yeah, no, that's totally makes sense.
Yeah, I think Charles Burns might be kind of scratch that Lynchian itch for you, Celia. His famous book called Black Hole. You might want to try that. And Celia likes horror, and that also imbibes in horror. Yeah, so that's why I kind of, when I can now, like Peep Show, if that becomes part of the highbrow set, that would just be kind of sad.
Right.
But on the other hand, it would be nice if somehow it gets remembered and lasts.
I mean, I don't know if anything in there is going to apply to or hold anything for the upper echelon of society. Yeah. Ronald Reagan talking penis,
And the truth is, I actually do want to insult loading the canon, but it's kind of my life's work.
Don't worry, he can make a video slamming men in tights. Don't worry about it. Slamming men in tights.
He's going to insult the entire Bronze Age that shaped me as a human being.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're back to me. So,
Oof.
speaking of the underground, but not really. So this is an interesting case.
So Buttons.
So Buttons is a series that I think just comes out whenever Jonathan Bayliss, the writer, can afford or has time to put out an issue. And he hires really great artists to work with him. And I think I've read 3 issues now. I think each issue's cover is probably a homage to something. Like this one looks very familiar, but I'm not sure which underground comic it's playing off of. But I'm pretty sure it is.
Danny Hellman on the front there on that one, yeah?
Is that the artist?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah. Recently reinstated in Twitter land.
Yes, Danny Hellman. Oh, was he controversial?
He's a very controversial figure. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
That's interesting. So what struck me about So Buttons wears on its sleeve that his favorite comic of all time is Off the Streets of Cleveland. What's it called?
American Splendor?
Art
Spiegelman? Rob?
Not Art Spiegelman. Oh man, I can't believe I'm not
Sesame
getting
Street?
this right. No.
Bert and Ernie?
You recognize this cover?
Yeah,
Love and Rockets?
American Splendor.
Is that what you're grasping at? Yeah.
American Splendor, Off the Streets of Cleveland.
Right.
And so this is a cover homage to that. And inside this issue, he talks about it being his favorite comic. And so he is doing his own version of American Splendor with So Buttons. But he has a very different life than the guy who does American Splendor.
Harvey Pekar.
Harvey Pekar, yes. He has a very different life than Harvey Pekar. He went to film school and he interned at, I think, Marvel Comics and Valiant Comics. So I find him very likable, and this comic is very likable. It doesn't have a hard edge or anything like that. And it's, so I guess I'm just saying it's an enjoyable read, but not urgent. There's no urgency to it.
Right.
I wouldn't tell people you must read this comic or anything like that, but I will definitely seek out the rest of the issues and read it and hope he makes more. But he just tells you little parts of his life or little things he was thinking about. So like this first thing he's thinking about, the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon or what, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. And he's trying to think of how many degrees between him and Robert Crumb.
Right.
And he mentions a couple different connections, but the big connection is someone he knows who was a 78 RPM record collector who had Crumb come to his warehouse where he was collecting. And he tried to get Crumb to trade him a sketch for some of his records. But Crumb wouldn't do it.
Oh, man.
And says later he heard that Crumb will only trade sketches with women. So, and it's drawn, I guess there's Bayliss drawn a little bit in a Crumb style there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And his other connection is he was involved in some trading cards that some company put out. I think maybe he was doing the design work or something. And Crumb did not like how they wrote about him on the back of the trading card. Let me find it. Crumb wrote it back. Gag, I guess I just should kill myself now. Tell this guy Jonathan, a big fan of my work, you say, that this card was the last straw. I'm going to end it all as soon as I mail this. So that was his ultimate connection with Crumb. So that's the very first one of these that I read, and it kind of is emblematic. It's kind of a gentle, fun little thing. And there's stories here. There's a story here about how he was a bit of a accidental bully in college, but then became bullied on by the same people later when he got older, by the same people he had bullied. And it's fun seeing, just like he gets better artists overall. I mean, American Splendor did have Crumb, but a lot of the other artists maybe I don't mean to diss them, but I like Bayliss's taste in artists. And one of his Crumb is Van Sciver. So Van Sciver is the artist who keeps coming back and drawing, some of the stories in here.
Oh, right.
You
so
mean the good
Skyver drew this homage to a Crumb cover of American Splendor.
I hope you're talking about the good one, Skyway. Yes, Noah one.
Yeah, Noah. Yeah,
Noah. Did I say Ethan by accident?
No. I just wanted to make sure
I'm
you
always
established
worried. I will
once
say
when you say it's
Ethan.
this Van Skyway, you can be both of them.
there's an interview out there where this interviewer is talking to Noah Van Skyver, and he calls him Ethan throughout the entire interview, and he apologizes every time, and it's like, dude, and you can see Noah getting just like, fuck, man, my name is Noah, like, Jesus, can't get out of the shadow of my fucking brother.
I completely understand that, though, because once you confuse something once, it gets stuck in your head, like me calling you Travis over and over
exactly
again.
Yeah, exactly what I was gonna say.
Now I'll start calling you Ethan. So this is fun, where he briefly becomes Mr. Natural. So it's full of references to stuff he liked and that, I've liked.
This is cool. I like that one.
And another interesting person he has work with him is Rick Parker, who was a big letterer at Marvel for years. And I don't know if you guys remember Chad's Attic. Chad had interviewed Rick Parker. Rick was working on a memoir, kind of in more this style, of autobiographical comic about his life when he was in the Army. I don't know if that ever came out. I should follow up on that. So Rick was a good artist, but not a Marvel style artist. So the only Marvel book he ever did was Beavis and Butthead. So here he talks about Halloween experiences. So horror movies were a big thing for him, and he wanted to be one of those horror movie makeup artists, which seems like a tangential thing to comics. It feels like people in comics often, kids who like comics also wanted, were obsessed by how they made the horror special effects, that kind of thing. And he may have actually gone into that field a little bit. So it's interesting, he has an interesting life, but he's not the kind of grouch like Harvey Pekar. He's not bitter about life. Some of my favorite things are like the appearance of his child. I can't seem his child clearly likes comic books. Where did that go? So there's something about meeting the guy who did the spinning head in The Exorcist, who was one of his horror movie idols.
Yeah.
Here's the one with his son. Let's see. It's like, so Lucas, it's Valentine's Day. It's a day about love. Who do you love? The Flash. How about a real person? Mommy. Anyone else? No. So that's a great cute little moment of parenthood. So it's a very gentle thing. And then this, I guess, is another homage to a Harvey Pekar, Robert Crumb story where Crumb just drew Harvey talking to the audience.
Yeah.
Man, I wish I still had my early American Splendor copies. Right. I don't think they're even available in a trade anymore. I don't know. And another one I loved is he got Fred Hembeck to draw one about when he was an intern at Valiant Comics. So you get a little, this works for me because I both like Harvey Pekar and Valiant Comics. If you're someone, I'm looking at you loading the cam and probably loathes the thought of Valiant Comics. It may be less interesting. I don't know. Or maybe it is. But he never goes real deep into things. Like we get sort of just a quick look at Valiant Comics and then we're on to the next thing. Another thing with his son, who references the Superman movie soundtrack by John Williams. So anyway, I'm looking forward to reading more. It's in a way, I'm surprised that I think I learned about this via Ryan. And I think Jonathan may be someone who comments frequently on Ryan's Patreon.
Yeah, it's true. He does, yeah.
And but I think of Ryan as being the espouser of the real crazy, insane fringe people. But this is more like someone more normal doing his own indie comic, which anyway, I enjoy it. To me, it still has all the flaws of autobiography, which is that you tend not to you don't explore the psychology of the story as much when you're writing autobiography than if you threw in a real monster, and then explore, like in Black Hole or something.
Or at least exploring some of those stories more in depth, right? Instead of a 4-pager, make it an issue where you're talking about your time at Valiant.
That could be where
more
you
of a slice.
Act it out more and dig deeper.
Yeah.
But there's probably a certain, especially if you're kind of a clean-cut normal person, a certain amount that you would hold back and really digging into the dirtiest laundry. But if you did write it as a monster story, then you maybe could dig deeper into stuff. There you go, Dirty Laundry.
Dirty Laundry.
Who was Dirty Laundry by? Is that Crumb?
All this talk of Crumb. We should.
Oh yes, Aileen passed away.
Aileen
very sad.
Kaminsky Crumb. Yeah. So this is. I have only 2 issues of Dirty Laundry. I didn't read these this week. It's just as you were talking about Crumb. Yeah. I mean, we should.
And
comment,
she belies my complaints about autobiography because she is willing to expose her dirty laundry, literally.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and doing this together, it's. I mean, it's touching. It's still, pointed. It's still all of those things, right? She absolutely has her own style, though. But she passed away recently as well too. So I thought we should acknowledge Aileen as well too. And that's Bunch is her big character. Gotta love that. Bunch was a collection that was put out probably by Fantagraphics. I'm guessing.
I bought a huge collection of her in hardback a few months ago and haven't read it yet. And now I feel like it would be shallow to just suddenly read it because she died.
Right.
Yeah.
But I do want to read it.
No, you should. I mean, that's a good way to kind of honor her memory, right? Like
exactly
her comics, right? So
read your work. Exactly. Yeah. Okay, is it my turn now?
Wait.
I believe so, yes.
Right. So as a Trekkie fan, I need to remind you people the Star Trek. Don't do that. No. Just behave. Okay, my poor tablet. But oh, come on, go away. That's the first issue. We're talking about second one now. So Star Trek #2 issue came out. This is very recent. I think it's even this week. But because I do digital, unfortunately, because I can't find #1 and I missed the boat, and it's probably that's what happens. But this is so fantastic once again. So this is Rasa tablet and you and doing that. I wish I had that fancy camera like Damien keep on saying. So Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing is the writers, and artist Oleg Chudakov. So maybe that's another Russian, and colorist Lee Luridge is the colorist. So it continues to be as a fantastic tale once again, and Cisco is doing something that not everybody can agree with him, especially Data, who is there placed on purpose to kill him. But the star of the show of this issue is Worf is back. Uh-huh. And it's a bit of a spoiler, but they're going to join up because it seems to be that Klingons had a bit of other godly gods they were using, because especially Kalis, that
just
god.
To double check, this is kind of like a continuation after the end of the TV show, right?
Yes, Deep Space Nine, yeah. So
it's kind of like season 8 of Deep Space Nine.
Let's say so, yes. I think so. I can't call it, but yeah, it's an extra story for Cisco because, Cisco died and then he came back and it just kind of ended with the Deep Space Nine. And now we have basically his still mission to go through to find somebody, once again, God-like beings. Mm-hmm. And they get into Klingon Empire once again, and Worf is kind of in between, even though he's now ambassador, because that's why he left Federation in generally, because he wanted to become, that real Klingon, and then he always becomes a traitor. Right. And here with and then Kalis, he's alive. If you have seen Deep Space Nine, you know how he came back, kind of thing. So they came to talk to him because they have this secret, that mission which we're trying to achieve is apparently he knows some information and they're thinking that he's going to share it, but of course he doesn't really give them a really nice path towards it. So, and it actually gets a little bit more an explanation also, so you don't get really lost with Empire and Kalis, that he's an emperor, because we have a chancellor, the Mortok, the son of Urtok. I don't do Klingon really well, so I do apologize.
I'm impressed. That sounded good.
Yeah. And of course, Worf has a different name because he's now son on Mog and House of Mortak as well. So anyway, so yeah, it's fantastic. Honestly, this is such a Trekkie thing, like if you like, and you really like want those characters back, especially from that era. It's really good.
I'm embarrassed. I've forgotten who Kalis is. Was he a religious figure?
Yeah, he's the one they're all Klingon empires, like basically religion based on, because he's the warrior, the guy who never gave up, and like you want to die, but it's a good day to die. It's the famous words.
He's the one they got all their warrior.
And the Worf has always been like he was the one for him to look upon. So they, every time Worf says it's a good day to die, is basically giving good ups for the Kalis. And the art is great. They don't really look like exactly like the characters, which is fine, I think. I mean, Sisko is really kind of well portrayed because he's at the end of the day the main character. But the guy next to him is that from Voyager, Palmer. No, what is it? Tom.
Tom Paris.
Yeah, Tom Paris. Exactly, that's the guy. So you can't really. I mean, they talk and you will find out who they are, but it's superbly done. I don't know. I guess because I really on the wanting to have more Star Trek in my life, even more there is now, because there's plenty of it now, especially new things. This is just gives you more. So this is the extra beings who created the gun or the weapon, which can destroy a lot more than they were predicting, and they are kept under kind of like a gun to create something they didn't want it to actually release, because they're secretive society nobody were aware of until Sisko kind of find out, because he has this, like the powers and stuff like that. So it's really good. And Worf is like got him sitting down on the chair, and he has this maneuver which is actually give you another thing for the people who know Star Trek, and like those kind of things, like clues of continuation and stuff like that. Really, it's really well done, honestly. I'm kind of sad I'm reading in digital, but as I say, I missed on number 1. I can also wait and for the trades, but I'm a kind of a sucker now, and I really like it because it's so well written, and in digital it's okay, but I guess I'm gonna have to reread it again as well, because I mean, not reread it, but read it, because if it's gonna come out in another format. So yeah, highly recommend it.
I was asking if it's a new chronology or a continuation of the original 3 timeline, and I assume it's true to that timeline.
It is. No, it's a story for Sisko. He has this thing he has not yet finished. I'm blanking those guys, those creatures he was working for in Deep Space Nine. What are they called? Those gods. What are they called? Guys, help me here.
I don't know. Even though I'm rewatching Deep Space Nine, it's blanked on me now.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's these entities where the wormhole, we were part of a wormhole. So basically, he has these powers, and he was talking to you because they took him away, and he died. He got resurrected, and now this basically has another task to achieve, and this is kind of going. Because they were showing in the first issue of the Star Trek, they were showing him in the space station, basically talking to the sun. But I need to do this, and he's going off because even though he has a family, as you know, Sisko has a child he has not seen before. If you follow Deep Space Nine, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Amazing, yeah.
Man, I have forgotten so much about Deep Space Nine.
It's fantastic little tale. It's beautifully done. Great. So this is just works on top of it. I think it goes. I don't know how much in continuation. I don't want to I don't go into whole details. I'm just enjoying. I'm going for the ride, and they really doing it well. So
we'll see if they make it canon in the long run. That Chaos and Comics is talking about.
I'm about 6 issues into Deep Space Nine season 1. I'm starting to, from your lead there, Rasa, I'm starting to watch them all again. I want to watch everything again, and it's so great watching that stuff again. It feels comfortable. It feels, I enjoy it. Yeah.
Oops, sorry.
I'm enjoying it so far. It's nice.
Yeah, being on the spot place there. It's so good to. I was watching, and I don't know. I am like I say, I keep on calling myself now Trekkie because I'm binged Star Trek any way I could possibly can. But Deep Space Nine was the last thing I watched just recently. So I've never done it when it came out because I don't know why it didn't appeal to me, because I don't know, because it's the station maybe. So even though your episodes of Star Trek is kind of based on the plane, you kind of feel like you're exploring the space and they're just stuck in that space station. But honestly, it's such a stupid way of thinking because the storytelling is really well done and the characters are beautiful. So yeah.
Honestly, Chris, like, come on.
Anytime, Chris, come on. You can talk about Star Wars and X-Men all you want.
Yeah, man. 100%. Yeah.
We may mock you a little bit, but it'll be with love.
Chris, I won't mock you about the Star Wars stuff. I can't make any promises about the X-Men stuff, though.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, we talked about Star Wars already. You have to join earlier than that. We were talking about Andor TV show. But anyway, yeah. So honestly, I just love Star Trek. I mean, Star Wars is great for me, but I don't know. It's just I am in that realm of that way.
Well, I have one more question. Is this a comic that's coming out currently, or is it is it all done?
Yes, no. That's why I'm doing digital, because I missed out on issue 1. I found out I don't. That's the problem with me. I don't keep track what's coming out, and I always miss out on stuff like that because kind of I'm like pushing my pullers to a complete limit. So when they came out, I would have picked it up, but like me, I missed it out on it. And issue number 1, and I just say so this issue 2 came out this week or last week, something like that.
Oh wow! Okay, so you're gonna have to wait a while before you get more.
Yeah.
Are you getting it through Comixology then?
Yeah. I don't know why I'm doing that, but yeah, kind of.
If you're enjoying it well enough, then it's worth the money.
Yeah, as I say, because I read the first one and I was like thinking, like, why do I do this? I can wait for trades. No, trade is always gonna come out anyway. But I was so, because it's Cisco's storyline, and because I just finished recently that Deep Space Nine. I was like, okay, I want to see what they're all about, and it's really good. So let's say. Because just freshly I have that Deep Space Nine's characters in me, and then I'm like, yeah, this is exactly what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna go delve into the digital paying, which is but hey, it's okay.
Sometimes you got to do it.
Yeah.
Speaking of things you've got to do, have you got more stuff on your hand?
I sure do.
Woohoo!
More Fantagraphics. So I kind of went to the Fantagraphics website, flipped through page after page, and then checked with my library. The stuff that looked interesting to me, just looked in the library to see if they had it. This was one that appealed to me because I love the art style. I didn't know anything about it going into it. I didn't know until I read the back matter in this book, kind of what this book was, that it was kind of dealing with some issues that the creator kind of had experience with. Friends of hers, or theirs rather, theirs. This is an incredible book. It's told kind of in this format of someone telling someone else this story. And then on the opposite page, you get a beautiful illustration. Wow. And it's really stunning stuff. It was a really quick read. One of the things that I think works really well too with this format is when you move out of this format, it has a real great effect. So part of the story is this woman is coming to this priestess to ask her to talk to her, and she dunks her head in the water, which then sends this woman on this kind of, I don't know, almost into an out of body rebirth experience where she gets reborn again as a man. So when we see that rebirth happening, all of a sudden you take up the entire pages with stuff like this. Wow. It really has a huge, as you're reading it, it has a really brilliant effect because you're used to that black space. you really feel like you're transitioning as well with the character. It's a really cool storytelling technique. And it goes on just for a few pages, and then we get back into our story itself.
That's amazing.
Where, you know, so that's her being reborn there. And it's this sort of, so you get the sense, and again, please keep in mind, I had no idea what this was about until I got to the end. So I was a little like, this is kind of like an erotic story is what it felt like. We kind of focus on our main character, who's this guy who kind of seems to be kind of antisocial, but is also kind of, they show him as a child, and he always has his hands down his pants. He's always playing with himself. So he has this kind of really repressed sexual nature to him, and he gets scolded by the priest.
I think this book was calling out to you and you didn't even know it.
Absolutely was. And then when I read the end, I was like, oh fuck, what does that say about me? So he kind of goes through, as he gets older, he still finds that, and I mean, stuff like this too, like Get Out of Town. It's so great. Looking out his window at nighttime and not having any text on this page for stuff like this.
Yeah.
It's really stunning stuff. And then you also get every once in a while these breaks of in between these beats where you just get some black pages just to kind of give you a chance to, you know, pause for a second. So he starts to turn into this kind of, does he have man-sized tissues? Oh, you just wait. So he starts to get into this.
I'm going to retitle this episode to Man-Sized Tissues.
Being a peeping Tom. And it gets really kind of
creepy.
It gets, well, you think it would get creepy, but it seems to have this woman that he knew in school who shows up at the zoo that he works at. She's doing sketches of animals, and she leaves her sketchbook behind. He finds the sketchbook, and there's drawings of him peeping at her and kind of some of the things that he's been doing up until this point. And there seems to be this invitation to kind of, let's see if we can get, so here's the woman here. This kind of invitation to come and take part in these kind of sexual exploits, which he does. And that's all I'm going to tell you about it.
Oh, come on, man. Now I want to know.
It's heavy. You should check it out.
Okay.
It's really, really great. No, it always comments on what we're seeing.
The text and the pictures never quite intersect then.
Yeah, they're not kind of like, and then he looked through the window and he saw her. You know, there's that kind of sense there, but it's more like elaborated than that, right? So it's an amazing, amazing book. And then when I got to the end, it caused me to kind of like pause and go back and start looking at things again. Because again, I think a book like this, having no idea of what you're getting into is part of it, right? Like that sense of letting the story unfold and letting it kind of present itself in a way where now you read this, you see the conclusion as you're getting closer to it. I wouldn't say it's necessarily about a surprise of what the conclusion is, but it's and then seeing what the real world experience was is it's something, man. This is definitely a little bit of a darker story here for sure, but it's really, really good. Like, I was very, very impressed by this. I'm absolutely going to be looking up the creator's name, Nina Bunjevac.
So I'm assuming this is a translation then?
Yeah,
I believe so.
Chris, by the way, is completely right. It's giving me complete anxiety. Is this a comic book or is this not? I don't know.
Right.
Very, very close.
Yeah. But I mean, those full pages are just so stunning. Like, they're so well done there.
They are.
Really give you this visual kind of like overwhelming sense as you're diving into this story. It's something else, man. I was impressed.
Would you say it's a horror book? I guess Rick Ray. I'm assuming Rick Ray has read it and is calling it a horror book.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it could be seen like that for sure. Yeah.
I guess it's not in translation, according to Colin. Right. He who knows all when it comes to Fantagraphics.
Especially Fantagraphics. Yeah, I would defer to Colin for sure.
I'm not sure
so that was
with
nice
what is definition.
Yeah. Okay.
Looks like a word was missing from that sentence. Okay, well, I, like Rasa, resorted to actually paying for a digital comic. One that
it pains me.
Me too. But my daughter loves this comic,
Oh shit.
And it's great for us to read together because it's a spoof of superhero comics.
Yeah, well, you told me that you like. She likes.
I probably
spoof.
talked about it before.
Yeah.
And so I like to read with her on the iPad. So I decided I won't buy the hard copy. I'll just buy the digital. It cost $5, but it was worth it. Oh, what is my definition of comics? It's more that I have publicly wrestled with where the line is on comics. And I say some things that are being sold to me as comics are not somehow fitting my idea of what a comic is. But I'm definitely open to the idea of being wrong.
Do this.
That's your new face there, Terence. So anyway, this is My Bad Volume 2, and I'm always worried, when they come back, they had a popular miniseries, they come back and do it again, it will suck or something. But this was excellent.
Cool.
It helps if you've read My Bad Volume 1. I think you'd still enjoy this. But
what was that warning there at the beginning? What was that?
Yeah.
It's a joke. Warning: 3 people died at the dye factory after handling the blue ink in this issue. Please hold judiciously. This comic has a mix of black humor, very innocent, almost sentimental stuff, and humor that's just for people who know old-time Marvel and DC comics.
Right.
So we have this villain who's going around. This pizza man is a disguise, and that's the real villain inside the pizza boxes. And he's shooting anybody who he thinks is a superhero, but there are actually people who have similar names to superheroes. So this is Mr. Spiderman. Spider-Man. And we have our there he is taking the disguise off in that panel.
Oh right, yeah.
Oh, okay. I was thinking that's a tiny man to kill everybody.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
And we have our cast of characters. So this is our retired Batman-like character, who's the Chandelier, who is utterly self-involved.
Oh.
He comes from he's a billionaire because of a lamp fortune. His
family
made lamps, so he's the Chandelier.
Yeah, I remember.
And so now that he's retired, he's reading what's it called? Exotic Egg magazine.
Right.
So it's always got these fun details. And he, of course, is hoping the pizza guy will come and try to kill him because he wants people to have remembered who he is and care about him. And he's disappointed when it doesn't happen. So they end up having this big fight with a real pizza delivery man, where this Wonder Woman person, who I don't know who this little midget on Wonder Woman's shoulder is, but so there's a really nice mix of the surreal and the black humor and just kind of a fun story, and everything's they're all interlinked short stories. So that ends, and then we get a Baxter Building like thing for this
homage
supervillain who isn't really that much of a supervillain. His name is Emperor King or something like that.
They looks exactly like the picture they did as well, like of
for the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But even the camera placement I'm talking about is exactly the same what he was in the comic. Yeah.
But then instead of a rocket ship here, he's got a water slide. And of course he's got the Emperor King's scheme planning room. And he has bars all over. The bar number 19, bar number 4.
Oh, somebody has the alcohol
nighttime brooding ledge, the castle bouncing castle room, because the building's called the castle.
Yeah.
The junk drawer room, the empty room with a horse statue. And then one of his sidekicks is Acid Chimp. A monkey he's trained to throw acid at people. But now he's trying to get Acid Chimp not to throw acid at people, but Acid Chimp's superpower is that he always can find some more acid to throw at people. So in this one, he just is trying to get a date, and there's a superhero dating app, and he has to pretend to be a superhero to get a date with the superhero who is called a Good Karen. The whole thing about middle-aged Karens being bad people. This person wants to rehabilitate the name of Karens. And she's not good at all. She's actually a Karen. And so he's going on a date with her from the dating app. Yeah. And anyway, and then we get her backstory. You know, she's training at the monastery as people do, but she's no, trees are sacred, and she's kicking down the tree. She's too selfish to follow the rules. Oops. So, and then it turns out at the end, she wants for their first date that they go off and find this pizza killer that we had referred to in the first story.
I see.
And then there's a profile of Acid Chimp and his powers and his origin and all that, you know, from the, they call this the important new superhero universe trademark.
Yeah.
So this is the somewhat official handbook of the important new universe. And then we get a further flashback where we see how Emperor King bought the costume from this other failed superhero named Steel Integrity. He's like Tony Stark, except he's totally broke and has no money. So he buys Steel Integrity's identity.
The names are chosen really well.
Yeah. And there's always kind of an underlying attack on the rich and on billionaires and stuff like that. There's two writers on here, and one of them is Mark Russell. People may know of him from a lot of other books, and he's always critiquing capitalism and that sort of thing. But this is mostly just attacking the privileged billionaires of the world. And then there's my daughter's favorite thing is actually the letters page. And so from the previous series also. So it's really fun to read the jokey letters page. And there's even a joke on Stan Lee's
toolbox.
Tom's toolbox. Ahoy there. Hey there, ahoy Nix. You caught me jet lagged. I'm just back from Stockholm. That's in Europe, where I was fed, fussed over, and formally feted by the lofty lords and ladies who award the annual Nobel Prize in Comics. And if you're guessing your chief took home the Nobel Gold, give yourself 1,000 no points. Who says this isn't the ahoy age of humbling hallelujah? So it's a great mix of all these different levels of humor, I think. So, of course, you have to be into jokes about superheroes to enjoy it in the first place.
Yeah.
But I was a little worried when they did a second volume, but I think I like it even more. Maybe the more My Bad you read, the more you sort of get a kick out of it. And that's pretty much all I read this week.
Whoosh. We'll have a couple more.
Do you guys want to do? So I can't do this much longer. Do you want to do some short shots?
Okay. All right. Let's do short shots. But I want my patience paid out because my library decided to get this.
Yay! Yes.
Yeah. So
did you request it, or you were just hoping they would get it and then they did?
No, I actually forgotten about it. And when I saw it on the shelf, I was like, "Oh, why? Yes, exactly what I wanted to see." Amazing. So I haven't read it all on purpose because I don't want to rush. I absolutely love this, by the way. So it's just too fantastic to do it too quickly to read. And I'm fascinated by the story, especially if she goes with the murder, which is actually my forte kind of thing, kind of criminal part of it. But she is absolutely. We're talking about art and ballpoint pen, man. Jesus, that
unbelievable.
The woman is a. Oh my God! So I want to like her architecture is absolutely astonishing, to be honest. It just makes it more and more of I don't know. I'm just so fascinated by it, especially stuff like archways. She's just on point on every part, and her faces are as great as well. And I like that she zooms in. So this is the picture, and then she zooms in on the character itself, because she's probably like fascinated by the shading and the colors. And I don't know. The more I was reading of it, I was like, just don't rush it. Please don't rush, because I know I want to know every single detail of it. and how she imagined herself as a monster because the school problems, and then her mother, the way she presents her mother really nicely as well, with the little backstory, like the eye of the mums. She has this like really green thing, even though her eyes are gray because of where she's from. And the murder of this lady here, which is absolutely fantastically drawn, and then how she goes in to tell the story. I have not yet known the full remarks of the storyline, but they were friends because they're neighbors. And she just, I honestly, it's just fascinating. And the more like a Valentine's Day and how she decided to put blood in a hot pasta, that was hilarious. And then nobody could understand her in the school. And then she's like in 60s, yes? Am I correct? Like
yeah, I think so, yeah.
Because
it's been so long since I read it.
Am I correct to say that she's referencing the timing with the comic book of the horror comic book she's keep on getting? Is that
I mean, I feel like that's just something that the character is into and kind of keeping in that vein of comic history and things, right? Like these ghastly stuff that would have appealed.
And then I love this page where the people superstitious. So it reminds me of my mom's, and my mom's kind of like Lithuanians are quite superstitious. Well, older ones, not the newer, cooler generation, like they say. But never ever say T word like thunder unless you're itching to be struck by lightning. So. Yeah, it's honestly, I cannot wait. I haven't done on this page. It's like, oh, look at that! Look at this, how she's doing it.
So good.
And this is where I ended. I just really didn't rush. I was looking at every single detail because I tend to kind of attempt to do some ballpoint drawings myself sometimes. For example, nowhere near as what she's presenting. Okay, I'm saying for example. I like I lose that's my drawing of
nice
the story I'm reading as well, but this is with fountain pen.
Are you making a bookmark out of it?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to do the bookmark, but it's no pencils whatsoever. I'm trying just to freehand.
Right.
Which is
That's awesome.
Very difficult to do, but it's very good to lose your mind and do whatever happens. So yeah. So
apparently you have an emotional roller coaster coming for you.
It's a phenomenal book. And she has an interview on Noah Van Sciver's channel.
Is it really a comic book?
Yeah. And then it's beautiful. As I say, I don't want to. As I say, I wasn't rushing. So but I'm really glad they got it, and I know why you guys were so praising this beforehand when we were doing videos beforehand. So I'm so pleased that my patience, but I was lucked out really that I have library to a sense of having this kind of stuff coming out, because there's a sticker on library and they just got it this year. So somebody actually probably suggested them and they got it. So this is one thing I have not finished, but I'm looking forward to. And another thing, I needed some superhero in my life. Sorry, Colin, if you're still there. Suicide Squad, Get the Joker. Brian Azzarello's Black Label book. Alex Maleev on art and Matt Hollingsworth on colors. And okay, can I tell you one thing I really hate about hardbacks and DC Comics? Got a loss. So this whole comic book has no double page spread, which is okay, until one page, which I probably won't be able to find. And that I was just like, got a loss. I don't know where that page is.
They do glued binding on some of their hardbacks, which is really sinful.
Well, anyway, I can't find the page, of course, so I can't really prove my point. But this is the story where Red Hood tries to kill a Joker, and they created this new team of Suicide Squad to go after the Joker, and Joker is working for Russians, and kind of thing. So it's interesting in the take of the Robin who nobody, how they describe in here, the Robin who nobody liked because he died, and then of course somehow he got resurrected. And in saying here, they say, I don't remember how I got back to being alive. And then he was in prison, and of course Amanda Waller is coming in to recruit them, and they inject them with the bomb, or like liquid bomb inside them. So they say, well, if you can't do this, you, no matter whatever happens, you're not gonna come back, kind of thing, or do the mission, or else, kind of thing. To my surprise, she got beaten by Joker, the Amanda Waller. She got into coma. And it's just full of action. It's a beautifully done book. It's nice I really like this hardback formats. But I'm like I say, I would be worried if somebody would have double page spreads, because they don't do justice whatsoever. They make a really good job on creating a hardback itself. But when you have something like Gutter Loss in this kind of format, it's kind of shameful, to be honest, because you have
sure,
special
but I mean, that doesn't look too bad, though. Everything you've shown, it seems to be okay.
Yeah, I know. That's one. My point is not being made, because I can't find the bloody page. I didn't make the mark of it.
Whoa, right. I get you.
But because what I'm trying to make my point is, they like this. Actually, the way Maliv has attempted to do this, he doesn't look like he has even done any double page spread, apart of one or couple and stuff like that. So
I once got a Darwin Cook art book from DC that had a glued binding, and so that. And they did everything as a double page spread of his covers, and it was horrible.
It's really, the mood is set really nicely. You know where you are at. You're never going to get confused. You know, the characters are there. There's some obscure team members they picked. The girl, like, who basically has this tongue where she eats like ants and she can suck your blood out, which I forgot. Oh, there's a page where they tell the team they're gonna take. Blah 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 blah. Come to me. Oh my god, I should have bookmarked it. And honestly, you could. Oh yeah, so there. That's there's your Gutter Loss. Look, can you see the man's face?
Right.
Anyways, I'm sorry. I'm just being overly passionate about that. So, Firefly, Arsonist, Silver Banshee, this guy called Pebbles, No Secret Identity, Meow Meow. Her name is Meow Meow. And then Plastique. And then, what's his name? This guy, I guess, the name. Then Yonder Man. And of course, Harlequin. Somehow she needed to be there, because that wouldn't be not fun if she wouldn't go after Joker. Right. So yeah, this is the group of kids they were taking to make on the specific missions. But honestly, it's really for superhero / whatever, those obscure team members to come together. It's really good, and it's fascinatingly to read how DC is going with Black Label, but it wasn't as like gory or anything, to be honest. And this Joker looked kind of funny, and I don't know, he kind of like tried to kind of in a way speak Russian, because he's working for Russians. So is it really a Russian, or is it? Of course actually... it is.
Russia's the boogeyman now, so you got to make a Joker.
Yeah, exactly. So and he's like like, it looks kind of obscure looking Joker in generally, but I'm not following what's happening in DC these days. I'm just getting examples of it from this kind of like library selections, which I'm able to get hold of. But it's entertaining read, for what it was. And then afterwards, the original Suicide Squad going after them to kill them all. And a couple of them, of course, dies because it's Suicide Squad at the end of the day. So you get what you basically paid for, if it's that pun saying you can get it for. But yeah, very entertaining, and the beautifully done art, for sure. Maliv is kicking in this book, for sure. So I like that one. And the last thing I've been reading, Power Man and Iron Fist.
Hey.
So this is where this is the beginning of story. The death basically of our Power Man, in quotations, because it starts with the beautiful art by Kerry. What's his name?
Kerry Gamble?
Yeah, I think so.
I used to love Kerry Gamble's artwork.
Yeah. Kerry Gamble is the creator, and Joe Duffy is the writer. So basically, it starts with a cemetery where you see the coffin says Luke Cage, and we're kind of starting the story saying who's sleeping in my grave, kind of thing, where they try to kill but basically bury Power Man alive, because this guy who's basically going into Cage's office, supposedly his lawyer, but he's in big trouble, and there is a kind of like a thing for like mafia he's working for, and then they chasing him, so he decides to go into a the Power Man's office to basically kind of like suppose ask for help there. But there's underlying storyline, which is really, honestly, I was thinking I wouldn't be not enjoying it myself, but it has really entertaining art. It's beautifully paced panels, and then this kind of type of the format, it just works really nice. And there's this dude who looks like, I don't know, Hazard Man or something. He's a Thunderbolt, and his powers are like Flash because he got struck by lightning as well. But the side effect was, because he almost died, they use experimental medication to basically help him with this kind of like ray and stuff, and he's rapidly aging. So sorry, spoiler alert. I didn't say that beforehand. But yeah, it's absolutely well done. It's beautifully paced, and I want to, because I have quite a few of them, and I've never read them. Kind of really good to see how they, delve with this kind of characters, especially that, some of the TV shows, if people have watched, not really did any justice to the characters. This seems to be as entertaining as ever, and highly recommended if you. You get panels, like front page panels like these, which I absolutely love.
It was once one of Marvel's top books, which is probably forgotten by most people now. But
so
it was really popular at the time when Mary Jo Duffy was writing it.
Mm-hmm. So it's really good. As I say, I really like looking, especially you have your then I didn't know that they were, so Misty Knight was working in Ninth Wing Restoration's private investigations, and the side story in here, they pissed off with Iron Fist and Power Man because basically they're losing job to them because they're superheroes and they're more popular, and unfortunately those two girls are losing job, and they're like really angry, and then nobody's picking up the phone. They won't talk to them and basically confront them and saying, how dare you, we're losing all our jobs because of your famous nature of superheroes. Yeah, that's kind of entertaining as well, part of the storyline. So really well done, honestly. It's really good if you feel like superheroes. It has like Luke Cage being in the coffin struggling because he's been kind of cuffed up with the things. But yeah, it's really nice. Absolutely fantastic. So, and it has a surprising end to the tale who was actually the bad guy in that storyline. So really good.
I always wondered, Mary Jo Duffy disappeared very quickly from comics. If it was a problem with the boys club that she had to work with. I see. So I remember reading at one point that she was like working as a receptionist somewhere instead of writing comics. But I don't really know the story behind it. But she seemed like a real powerful writer for a long time, or for a short time. For a short time, she seemed like a star writer.
It always shows me something. I always judge sometimes because I have some sort of understanding to what characters are like, but not giving them a chance in their own comic book. But they're not really badly written at all. It's what you expect them to have, their powers and how they deal with it in that era. And they just the era. I'm really liking it. The way they dress and how they represent themselves is sometimes it's just so refreshing if you want that kind of sort of thing. So very good.
So
cool.
I guess she had a Fallen Angels. Was that a graphic novel or a comic? I can't remember. And Loading the Cannon says she briefly self-published. Maybe it was something called Nest Robber. I missed that too. And I wanted, before we go on to you, Terence, just to catch up on some of these comments. One of the problems is I can see the comments come through on YouTube, but they take a while to get to the StreamYard interface, and then they're kind of old already.
Right.
But a while ago, Gore jumped in and mentioned he can't believe Frank Miller is writing a Corto Maltese series. I had no idea about that.
Yeah.
That's
he was
very
talking about it on
intriguing.
Friday on Jared's stream there, because Frank Miller is also working with Manara on a Sin City book for his company.
I knew. They're just going to do one issue of Sin City with Manara drawing it.
I'm all over that, man.
So I wonder who draws Corto Maltese.
No, I think it's a series, is what Gore was saying. Like it's actually going to be a series, like a TV series.
Oh, not a comic.
Right.
Oh, okay. That's.
I mean,
less
correct me if
exciting
I'm
for
wrong,
actually,
Gore, but I seem to remember that's what he was saying on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Chaos and Comics mentioned he's read 35% of My Favorite Thing is Monsters.
And Monster as well, yeah.
And I got less than that. I got it out of the library. My Favorite Thing is Monsters. I always meant I need to get it back again because I didn't get through it. I think I was intimidated by the sheer size of it, actually.
Right.
And Chaos and Comics is reading so many X-Men and Star Wars, he's not getting to My Favorite Thing is Comics. Playing to stick with that. And there was something else. Well, you have an emotional roller coaster coming up on the Monsters, My Favorite Thing is Monsters. But you survived the emotional roller coaster of Deadly Class. So
yeah.
And which Robins are liked. A lot of people seem to like Dick Grayson. Gore Vidal says, sorry, what'd you say?
No, nothing. Nothing at all. I was just going to make a stupid joke. A lot of people like Dick. That's all I was
A lot of people
say.
like Dick. Yeah. Cannot be denied.
Pass me by. Just keep going. Nothing to see here. It's the usual.
Yeah.
It's funny because my dad was named Peter, and Dick was a very dignified name back when he was named Peter. Which was Peter was the Dick of the old days.
Yeah.
Well, my dad's name is Richards, and I never know why they call him Dicks afterwards.
Dick was a name to be proud of at one point.
Right.
And Gore's just torturing us with this story of people buying
amazing
5 blueberries for $20.
And
the Love and Rockets #1 for $8. That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. That's crazy.
You never know when you might find. Oh, by the way, I bought. Online. I bought. The first issue of the Dan Close book, 8-Ball, for like $20, and then yesterday I found it for $5 at my comic shop.
Oh,
right! Wow.
So take your money back. So I don't want to. I had
looked on my comic shop, and the few copies they had were going for enormous amounts of money. So I thought I was getting a good deal with $20, but just down the street from me was a $5 copy. I didn't know.
Hate when that happens, man. Hate when that happens.
That's why I hate shopping online, because I know if I would just be around comic book shop, that would be so much cheaper sometimes. I'm not saying all times.
So I guess Fallen Angels was a New Mutants, and that makes sense to me. It rings a bell. And so a TV series, right? Okay. There's a fun mini series a few years ago featuring these characters. Tartakovsky.
It's fantastic.
I knew he did a Luke Cage book. Yeah,
it's really.
And I think he drew it himself, right?
He did, yeah. So it's his style.
That's something to hunt down.
So is it a trade paperback, or is it like an actual single format?
It was in 5 single issues or so.
Oh wow!
I'm sure it's been
collected.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was finding 8-Ball hard to find anywhere. So I was resorting to eBay.
That first issue that Ghost World makes a first appearance, I guess that one seems to be pricey as well too.
Yeah.
Yeah, my shop had just #1, and then this one, which is number 22.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Which I went ahead and bought. And I think
you should have bought #1. You could have resold it online for your $20 back.
I did buy the #1, but I'm not going to resell it. I'm just going to give it away to someone.
Good work. Good work.
But none of the other shops I looked at had any 8-Ball at all. So I'm still in my quest for getting like at least the first 9 issues of 8-Ball. It's a slow moving quest.
There's something we, as a comic book collectors, we always hate. Patience rewards you quite well if you do patience, but that's not really works.
It cuts both ways. Sometimes I'm patient, and then Savage Tales #1 goes from being $100 to $1,000, and I'm like, damn,
well,
you never know when
you're... sometimes it's like 100 pounds giant size X-Men I saw in once, and now it's like, what? How many thousands we're talking about? Yeah.
I was by the Black Side writer.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just Frank Miller for TV. That doesn't, I don't know. That doesn't even make much sense to me.
Doesn't make sense to me either. Yeah, I don't understand it, but whatever. We'll see.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm not planning to give it to someone who wants to resell it. So sorry, Chris.
Shucks, you chose the wrong words. Chaos and
so maybe Sean and I are both hunting 8 balls.
Yeah.
But hopefully,
I remember the days of hunting 8 balls.
With me.
So I just got 3 quick ones to end my stack as well too. So, Briar #2.
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah.
It wasn't nearly as good as #1. It went off in a more standard fantasy direction, I thought.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it was okay. Yeah. I mean, maybe I'll pick up #3 if I remember. If I don't remember, I don't know if I'll be too worried about it. Yeah.
The art's pretty nice.
The art is nice, for sure it is. Cosplayers, so another Dash Shaw book. And kind of the same thing, like, it was okay. It was sort of broken up into short stories, even though it's the same characters. Interesting at points. At the end, he says apologies to Dan Clowes, because there's parts that it really feels like Ghost World. Speaking of Ghost World, I mean, it's nice. I don't know if this blew me away. I tried to watch a Dash Shaw interview on Noah Van Sciver, and I couldn't fucking make it. I just couldn't do it. It was a little too much. I think I watched like 20 minutes and had to shut it off. Just sometimes the as much as I like, the idea of intellectualizing comics or whatever, sometimes that over intellectualizing just kind of really just makes me lose my shit. So, but this was good. I like the other one better. I like the Doctor's book much better than this one. This was okay though. I'm going to keep looking for his stuff though, because I do find him really intriguing to see what else he's done. And then kind of finally on it, I read Tommy Parrish, The Lie, and How We Told It. And it was the same thing with this one. Like, it was a good story. I don't know if I got much out of it. Kind of these high school friends who had who kind of run into each other after, I don't even know how long, 20 years, 15 years. It was interesting as they kind of relive their past and talk about relationships. It's very focused on relationships. One of the cool things that I thought happened is, as they're kind of having these conversations, one of the characters, they go to buy a bottle of wine because they're kind of enjoying spending time together. So one character is left outside and finds this book as she's smoking and just kind of hanging out, finds this book that somebody had dropped. And it turns out it's a comic kind of thing that somebody had written. And then you get a chunk of the story where now we're reading the book that she is reading, which I thought was pretty clever. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that stuff. Again, like, I would dig into more Tommy Parrish from the library, but I don't know if it held a ton of interest for me. I thought the art was pretty unique looking and kind of, I enjoyed that side of it. But yeah, again, it's a problem that maybe is more of a me thing with kind of digging into the past of kind of teenage years and sense and discovery, and especially with this, like, there's a lot of kind of discovering sexuality in this and things, which again is completely valid issue or things to talk about, but I don't know if it just really did much for me specifically. So yeah, those were kind of the 3. I also kind of had a look through this one. This is from Earl Grey a long time ago that he sent me because Colin was talking about some magazines and comics that he got. He had an issue of this, so I went and dug this out of my shelves from Earl Grey way back in the day, and then came across this Pang as well too. And it's pretty fun. This MS Bastion is the artist's name. I really like it. It's all in German, so I can't read what they're saying, but I love the kind of energetic art style of it. I really think it's pretty amazing stuff. So it was nice to kind of get reminded of, again, like Rasa, like you're doing, Rasa, going back to the shelves, going back to the bins, and kind of rediscovering some of this stuff. Exactly. To kind of have a second look at things after so long, since you kind of amassed so much over the years. So that was really nice to be reminded of that stuff.
Does that one make fun of Mickey Mouse or something, or is that just the cover?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like there's some Mickey Mouse type of stand-ins, but again, like not knowing what the hell they're talking about.
Oh, right.
It's hard to tell. Yeah, it's really hard to tell. But Edition Modern is the company, I think, that put it out. But yeah, it's a nice kind of like European graphic novel size format too, which is really great. So yeah, huge shout out to Earl Grey as usual. Yeah.
Terence, try to get Google Translate app on your phone and just look through that.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Because I had a couple of German books given to me, which I don't have a clue about German. Long time ago I studied it, but nothing came to mind in there. So I put it that, and actually, yeah, it was kind of crazy because I was thinking maybe once, sometimes, those apps don't make sense maybe, but the sentence was clear and precise. So have a look. You never know. But it's kind of awkward, just, like you have to kind of zooming in and out, like you magnifying glass through, like that. But if you want to know exactly, at least
I would be curious. And it's made up of a bunch of short stories, so that might be easier to do as if it's one long narrative. I can kind of get a sense of one of the stories to get an idea of the kind of things he's talking about. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Yeah.
Okay.
Did you notice a Gary Panter stand-in and cosplay?
Honestly, I'm reading that comment and I totally didn't. I absolutely, that's something that went past me, and that might have been just because I wasn't kind of really invested in the story.
Right.
I was sort of reading it to read it, and yeah, that one passed me by for sure.
You may have to really know a lot about Gary Panter to recognize it, I suppose.
Right.
So we've had tons of great commenters. I really appreciate our live comment audience. But of course, if anyone wants to leave live comment or non-live comments afterwards, I do come back and look at them and read them and react to them.
Yes.
So I wonder if with that Parrish book, it depends how much you love that art style, whether you're going to want to own the book or just get it from the library.
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, the art, I really like the art style. I think it works really well. And this newer book that he's got out that they've got out, sorry. I can't remember what the heck it's called. Somebody was just, Ryan just talked about it on his thing there, Damien. And I'm blanking about it on his Patreon or whatever it is. I really enjoy the art style. It's just that this one was something where I felt like the story itself, I mean, like a trick like this, for example, this is a great page to kind of flip open to. So they're sitting there, and this is a place they used to hang out. So you're getting these kind of outlines of figures as he's kind of remembering times that they hung out together. That's a very
cool effect.
Yeah, that's a very cool thing. So there's definitely some really interesting storytelling stuff happening there. But it just, the subject matter just didn't super appeal to me. But yeah, I do like the style, and I'll absolutely check out more. Men I Trust, that's the one. Thank you, Rick.
Thanks, Rick. I guess Panter was the hippie comic shop owner.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I do remember this comic shop owner for sure. That's a nice little segment there. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like a book that's decent if you get it out of the library at the very least.
I would say, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious about it now.
Yeah.
Well, thanks to everybody. Thank you, Rasa and Terence, for being up for another Sunday chat.
Yep.
Next week, assuming there's always a question mark about whether we'll get our acts together, but assuming we get our act together, Donald Rex will be joining us.
Excellent.
And chatting, I think, some old time comic strips from the newspaper, along with other interesting things.
I'm actually really looking forward to that, because that's something that we've sort of dabbled in the past, but it'll be great to have Donald, who's really into that stuff, to kind of give us a different perspective. I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, if you have followed in the past, Donald has left Twitter, sadly. But if you followed him in the past, he used to post, all day long. He'd be posting these cool comic strips. I particularly appreciated his Crazy Cat and his Prince Valiant. But anyway, yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that. I'm not sure whose channel that will be on. Is Rasa up next? Or
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So look for us on Rasa's channel. In the description are links to everybody's channels. Be sure to subscribe to all three of us if you like to catch this deeply intellectual and stimulating show.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about more smoked ham. Don't forget.
Yes, the smoked ham will return, and smoked turkey, perhaps.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, turkey is before Christmas, so you have to wait. I mean, you have to be patient. You know, you still have to a couple of 20 days until Christmas. You never know when that is gonna be.
Maybe eventually we'll get a Cornish hen review.
Yes.
Was that going to be your Christmas dinner or just something?
That's going to be our Christmas dinner. Yeah, we got our new oven this week as well too. So it's got a air fryer and it's convection oven, and like it's amazing. Already I've noticed a huge difference because ours was so goddamn old. So yeah.
There is Donald. Yeah, I love air frying. My toaster oven does air frying.
Amazing.
Better air fryer.
You guys need to tell me what's the fuss all about, but okay.
Delicious, man. I mean, the stuff that we've done in it. Anyway, we can talk about it later.
Yes, comics are for everything.
Yes,
and that is why we do this show.
Yes,
that's right.
Because we are about everything. Anyway, good night, everyone.
Later,
or good morning, or wherever you are. Talk to you later.
Somewhere. Bye.